and welcome to a special BriefingsDirect Thought Leadership interview coming to you in conjunction with the Open Group 2016 event on January 25th in San Francisco. We'll explore a new user group being formed around TOGAF, the Open Group standard, and how this group will further foster the practical use of the TOGAF Enterprise Architecture Aid for effective and practical business transformation. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter-Arbor Solutions, and I'll be your host as we set the stage, the next chapter in enterprise architecture for digital business success. We're now here with the President and CEO of the Open Group, Steve Nunn. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Dana. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well. Before we get to the TOGAF user group news, let's relate a little bit about what's changed in the business world and why enterprise architecture and frameworks and standards like TOGAF are more practical and perhaps more powerful than ever.
Well, I think one of the keys, Dana, is that we're seeing enterprise architecture increasingly used as a tool in business transformation. So whereas in the past, maybe in the early adoptions of TOGAF and implementations of TOGAF, it was more about redesigning enterprise architecture, redesigning systems inside an organization more generally. Nowadays, I think with the need to transform businesses for the digital world, EA has another more immediate and more obvious appeal. So I think it's really around enabling an enablement tool for companies and organizations to transform their businesses for the digital world. Specifically the worlds of the Internet of Things, big data, social, mobile, all of those things which we at the Open Group lump into something we call Open Platform 3.0. But it really is affecting the business place at large and the markets in which our member organizations are part of.
Mm-hmm. Now, TOGAF has been around for quite a while. How old is TOGAF now?
Well, TOGAF was the first version of TOGAF was actually published in 1993, so it's been quite some time. And for a little while, we published a version every year, and then once we got to version 7, the refreshes and the new versions came a bit slower after that. But I think it's we're now at version 9.1. There's a new version being worked on, and I think the key for TOGAF, we introduced a certification program around it for both tools that help people implement TOGAF, but also for the practitioners, the individuals who are actually using it. And we did that with version 8, and then we moved to what we consider, and I think the marketplace certainly considers to be an improved version with TOGAF 9, making it an exam-based certification, which has proved to be very popular indeed. More than 50,000 certified individuals under that program to date. Now,
the IT world, the business world, many things about the world have changed tremendously since 1993. Something that comes to mind, of course, is the need to not just think about architecture within your own organization, but how that relates across boundaries of many organizations. I sometimes tease with friends that are Star Trek fans that we've gone from regular chess to 3D chess.
Yeah.
And that's the level of complexity, a leap in complexity. How does this need to better manage boundaryless information flow make enterprise architecture and standards like TOGAF so important now?
Yeah, so I think with the type of changes that you talked about and the level of complexity, what standards like TOGAF and others bring is some commonality, an ability to make merging of organizations a little bit easier, give it a bit more structure. I think one of the things we hear is most valuable about TOGAF in particular is the common vocabulary that it gives to those involved in a business transformation, which obviously involves multiple parts of an organization and multiple partners in a group of organizations, for example. So it's not just for enterprise architects. We're hearing increasingly about a level of training and introductory use of TOGAF at all levels of an organization as a means of communicating and having a common set of terminology, so everyone has the same expectations about what particular terms mean. So, yeah, with added complexity, we need things to help us work through that and divide up the complexity into different layers that we can tackle. And EA and TOGAF in particular are proving very popular for tackling those particular levels of complexity.
All right, well, great. So in the next chapter, these things continue to evolve, react to the market, adjust. We're hearing that there's news at the event, the January 25 event in San Francisco, around this new user group. Tell me why we're instituting a user group associated with TOGAF at this point.
Well, I think it's going to be the first meeting of a TOGAF user group, and it's something we've been thinking about for some time, but the time seems to be now, I think. I've alluded to the level of popularity of TOGAF, but it really is becoming very widely used. And I think what people are looking for is, users of TOGAF are looking for, is how to better use it in their day jobs. How can they make it effective? How can they learn from what others have done, both good and bad, the things to try and the things not to try, or more, I guess, the things that worked and the things that didn't work. And that isn't something that we have necessarily offered, apart from a few conference sessions at previous events. So this is really aimed at getting a broader community around TOGAF, not just those members of the Architecture Forum, which is our particular forum that advances the TOGAF standard. It's really to engage the wider community, both those who are certified and those who aren't certified, as a way of learning how to make better and more effective use of TOGAF in their day jobs. And I think there are a lot of possibilities for what we might do at the meeting, and a lot of it will depend on what those who attend would like to cover.
Mm-hmm. Now, to be clear, any standard has a fairly rigorous process by which the standard is amended or changed or evolves over time. But we're talking about something separate from that. We're talking about perhaps more organic information sharing, bringing points up into that standards process, or maybe you could clarify the separation, the difference, the relationship between a standards adoption and a user group input.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a key point, Dana. It's the standard will get evolved by the members of the Open Group, specifically the members of the Open Group Architecture Forum. They are the ones that have evolved it this far and are, in fact, very actively working on a future version. So they will be the ones that ultimately get to propose what goes in and ultimately vote on what goes in. I think where the role of the user community, both members and non-members, but specifically the opportunity for non-members, it comes in being able to give their input, put forward ideas that areas where maybe TOGAF might be strengthened or improved in some way. Nobody pretends that it's perfect as is. It's evolved over time, and it will evolve in the future. But I think hearing from those who actually use TOGAF day to day, we might get some. We're certainly, from the Open Group's point of view, hoping to get some new perspectives, and those perspectives would then get passed on through us to the members of the Architecture Forum, many of whom we expect to attend the event anyway, but they might hear it firsthand. But certainly we would spend part of the meeting looking at what that input might be, so that we have something to pass on to them for consideration in the standard. So really, this is the first time we've offered non-members a real opportunity, not necessarily to decide what goes into the standard, but certainly a greater degree of influence. Somewhat of a throwback, I guess, to the days where user groups were very, very powerful in what came out of vendor organizations, and I do hope that this will be something that will enable everyone to get the benefit of a better overall standard going forward.
Yeah, no, I certainly remember, Steve, the days when vendors would quake in their boots for when user meetings and groups came up, because they had such influence and impact, and they both benefited each other. I think the vendors really benefited by hearing from the user groups, and the user groups benefited by the standards that could come forth in vendor cooperation that they basically demanded. Now, at the last event, your open group event, I recall the synergy discussions around Zachman and other EA frameworks. Do you expect that some of these user group activities that you're putting forth will allow some of that cross-pollination, if you will, people who might be using other EA tools and want to bring more cooperation, collaboration across them?
I would certainly expect that to happen. Our position at the Open Group, we've said it consistently over the years, is it's not TOGAF or, it's TOGAF and. The reality is that you're not going to take, most organizations, the vast majority, aren't going to just take TOGAF and that be everything they use in implementing their enterprise architectures. So the other frameworks are certainly relevant. I expect there to be some interest in tools as well as frameworks. We hear that quite a lot. What a good requests for suggestions of what good tools are for people at different stages of maturity in their implementation of EA. So I expect a lot of discussion about the other parts or the other tools in the toolbox of an enterprise architect to come up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so a user group functionally really serves to bring more of an ecosystem approach, voices from disparate parties coming together. Sounds very powerful. Now, this is happening on January 25th. This is a free first meeting, is that correct? And being in San Francisco, of course, you're within a couple hours drive of a lot of influential users, startups, the VC community, vendors, service providers. So tell us a little bit about why people who are within, a quick access to the Bay Area might consider coming to this on the 25th of January.
Yeah, well, I think that's another reason that the location of our next event is another reason for us thinking that this is the right time to do a first TOGAF user group. As you say, there are a lot of users of TOGAF in the area within a few hours of it. So I think what people would get out of it is the chance to hear a bit more about how TOGAF is used by others, how case studies, what's worked, what hasn't worked, the opportunity to talk directly with people, and whether it's through networking or actually in the sessions in the user group meeting. We're trying to not put too much rigid structure around those particular sessions because we want people to get the most benefit out of them. So it's really what they want to get out of them will probably be achievable. From our point of view, at the Open Group, it's about getting that broader perspective. I think for the attendees, learning useful tips and tricks, learning from the experience of others, and I think learning a bit more about the Open Group and how TOGAF has evolved. I think this is a key point. TOGAF is so widely used now globally, and even though we have quite a few members in the open group. I think we have more than 350 organizations participating in some way in the architecture forum specifically, more in the open group as a whole. But there's obviously a much wider community of those who are using it, and I think hearing more about how it's developed, what the processes are inside the open group, might make them feel good about the future of something that they've clearly got some investment in, and hopefully might even persuade a few of those organizations to join and influence from the inside.
Right. Now, there's more information about the user group at www.opengroup.org. You are meeting on the 25th at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time at the Marriott Union Square, right in the heart of San Francisco. But this is happening in association with a larger event. So tell us a little bit about the total event that's happening between the 25th and 28th of January, just coming up.
Yeah. This is part of one of our quarterly events that we've been running for a lot of years now, and they take the form generally of plenary sessions that are open to anyone, and also member meetings. It's where the members of the various open group forums get together to actually progress the work that they do virtually, but to really knuckle down and progress some of it face to face, which, as we all know, is generally a very productive way of working. So we have on the agenda for the conference this time, we have, apart from the TOGAF user group, we have sessions on the digital business strategy and customer experience, which is an activity that's being driven inside our Open Platform 3.0 forum as a membership activity, but this is really to open that up to a wider audience at the conference. So we'll have people talking about that. As I say, Open Platform 3.0 is where the convergence of technologies like cloud, social computing, mobile computing, big data, and the Internet of Things all come together. And as we see it, our goal is for our members to create an Open Platform 3.0 standard, which is basically a standard for a digital platform, so that the enterprises can more easily use the technologies that get the benefit of these technologies that are now out there. So there'll be quite a bit of focus on Open Platform 3.0. The other big thing that is proving very popular for us, which will be featured at the conference, is the Open Group IT for IT reference architecture. There's a membership activity, the IT for IT forum, where they are working on standards. We actually published the first version of that reference architecture at our last quarterly conference, which was in Edinburgh in October last year, and there's been a lot of interest in it, and it's really a standard for running the business of IT, which oftentimes IT is just seen as doing its own thing and not really part of the business. But the reality nowadays is whoever is running the IT, be it the CIO or whatever other individual, they are to be successful, they have to be not just run IT as a business with the usual business principles of return on investment, etc., but they have to be seen to be doing so. And this is a reference architecture that's not specific to any industry, but allows provides a guide for how to go about doing that. So we're quite excited about it. There's been a lot of interest in it so far, and we are working on a certification program for IT that we will be launching later this year, hopefully at our next quarterly event in London in April.
I'll just remind our listeners and readers that we're going to be doing some separate discussions and sharing them on the IT for IT reference architecture. So please look for that coming up. Getting back to the event, Steve, I've attended many of these over the years, and I find a lot of the discussions around security, around specific markets like healthcare and government really powerful and interesting. Anything in particular about this conference that you're particularly interested in or looking forward to?
Well, I think for me, the ones I've already spoken to are the ones that I'm personally most looking forward to. We will be having sessions on healthcare and security, as you say. I think in the security area, it's worth calling out that one of the suggestions that we've had about TOGAF, I won't call it criticism, but one of the suggestions for future versions is that TOGAF's a bit light on security. It could do with beefing up that particular area. And the approach we've taken this time, which people attending the conference will hear about, is we've actually got the security experts to say, okay, what do we need to cover as in TOGAF, in the next version of TOGAF, from a security point of view, rather than having the architects include what they know about security. We've really got some heavyweight security folk in there working with the architecture forum to really beef up the security aspect. So we'll hear a bit more about that at the conference.
I also see that customer experience, which is closely aligned with user experience, is a big part of the event this year, and that's such a key topic these days for me, because it sort of forms the culmination of Platform 3, when you can pull together big data, hybrid cloud architectures, mobile enablement and reach. You can start to really do some fantastic new things that just really couldn't have been done before when it comes to that user experience, real-time adaptation to user behaviors, bringing that inference back into a cloud or a back-end architecture, and then bringing back some sort of predictive or actionable result. Maybe flesh out a bit more for us about how this user experience and customer experience is such a key part of the output, the benefit, the value, the business transformation we get from all of these technical issues that we've discussed. This is sort of a business issue.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. It's when we start providing a better experience for the customers overall, and they can get more out of what the organizations are offering, that everybody wins. I think from the group that we have working on this inside the Open Group, they're coming at it from a point of view of some of these changes are actually new technologies are actually very scary for organizations, because they're forced to transform. The expectations of customers now are completely different. They expect to be able to get at things on their cell phones or their tablets, whatever device they might be using, and that really is quite a big shift for a lot of organizations. And that's not even getting into some of the areas of the Internet of Things, which promises to be huge. So I think what we're trying to do is really focus on, from the organizational side, what is it that you can do to look at it from the customer's point of view and meet their expectations and start to evolve from there. To me, it's interesting from the point of view it's pretty business driven. The technologies are there to be taken advantage of, or to actually be very disruptive. So the business needs to decide at a fairly early stage what those customer expectations are, and take advantage of the new technologies that are there. So I think that's the angle that we're coming from inside the Open Group on that. And one of our some of the main participants in that group are actually coming from the telco world, where things have obviously changed enormously over the last few years. So I think that one's going to move quite quickly.
Yeah, it certainly seems that the ability to have boundaryless architecture is essential on that customer experience benefit.
Yeah.
So you certainly seem to be in the right place at the right time for that. But the event in San Francisco also forms a milestone for you, Steve. You're now in your first full event as president and CEO of the Open Group, taking over from Alan Brown recently last fall. Tell us a little bit about your earlier roles within the standards organization and a bit more about yourself, perhaps, for those folks who are not yet familiar with you.
Sure. Yes, it will be quite different this time around. I've been with the organization, with the Open Group, for 22 years now. Originally hired as general counsel, and then fairly quickly moving on to vice president of corporate resources and chief operating officer under Alan Brown as CEO. So it's been Alan was CEO for 17 years, and I was with him all of that time. It's going to be quite different to have somebody else running the events, but I'm very much looking forward to it. From my point of view, it's a great honor to be leading the Open Group and its members into our next phase of evolution. The events that we hold are one small part of it, and it's but they're a very important part, particularly these quarterly ones. It's where a lot of our customers and members come together in one place, and as we've heard, hopefully some folks who may not have been involved with one of our events before through the user group. So it's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to basically building on the very solid foundation that we have and some of the great work activities that our members have ongoing inside the Open Group. So don't expect great change from the Open Group, but just really more of the same good stuff that we've been working on before, having regard to the fact that obviously things are changing very rapidly around us, and we need to be able to provide value in that fast changing world, which we're very confident we can.
Yeah, no, right. As an observer, of course, of the market, but also of the Open Group, I'm glad to hear that you're continuing on your course, because the world to you, in many ways, things that you were talking about 5-10 years ago have become very, very essential. You were spot on how you saw the vision of the world changing on IT and its influence on business and vice versa. And so more than ever, it seems that IT and enterprise architecture is destiny for businesses. So glad to hear that we're having a long vision, and the future seems very bright for your organization as the tools and approaches and the mentality and philosophy that you've been espousing becomes essential to do some of these things we've been discussing, like Platform 3, like customer experience and Internet of Things. All right, well, in closing, let's talk again for a reminder to our audience that you can register for the event at the Open Group website, www.opengroup.org. The first day, the 25th, includes that free user group, the inaugural user group for TOGAF, and it all happens at the Marriott Union Square in San Francisco, along with the general conference, which also runs from the 25th through the end of the day, 27th, I believe, this January 2016. Any last thoughts, Steve, as we close out in terms of where people should expect the Open Group to go, or how they could become perhaps involved in ways that they hadn't considered before?
Well, I think attending one of our events is a really good introduction to what goes on in the Open Group. I think for those who haven't attended one previously, you might be pleasantly surprised at if I had to pick one thing, I'd say the breadth of activities that there are at these events. So it's very easy for an organization like the Open Group to be known for one thing or a very small number of things, whether it's Unix originally and enterprise architecture more recently. But there really is a lot going on beyond there. So I think getting exposure to that at an event such as this, particularly in a location as important to the industry and as beautiful as it is, as San Francisco is a great chance. So anyone who's on the fence about going, then jump over the fence and try us out.
All right, great. We'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid. And we've been talking about how a new user group is being formed around TOGAF, an open group standard. We've heard how this group will be fostering practical use of TOGAF, gaining insights from the field, organic knowledge bubbling up into the standards process around TOGAF. And this, of course, is essential for enterprise architecture to support effective and practical business transformation. This special Briefings Direct discussion comes to you in conjunction with the Open Group Conference, this or event, I should say, this January in San Francisco. And so join me now in thanking our guest. We've been here with Steve Nunn, the President and CEO of the Open Group. Thanks so much, Steve.
Thank you very much, Dana, for this opportunity, and I hope to see some of your listeners at the event.
Very good. And also a big thank you to the Open Group for sponsoring this discussion. And lastly, a big thank you to our audience for joining us. This is Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host and moderator throughout these Enterprise IT Thought Leadership interviews. Thanks again for listening, and do come back next time.